Okay, we are live on YouTube at least, and we're going to be live soon on Amazon. And what we're doing today, once I get Amazon going, there we go, let's get that rolling. So we haven't looked at software-defined radio in about a month or so, and this has become like my new hobby. I'm all into this. And what we're going to do today is pick up some satellites from space. And there's a satellite in orbit called Inmarsat, actually a couple of them, in geosynchronous orbit. And we are going to, hopefully, pull down data from those satellites as they communicate with aircraft. And to do that, we are playing around, once again, with the RTL SDR, which is a USB adapter that turns your computer into essentially a shortwave radio. You can pick up all the ham bands, everything from high frequency to ultra high frequency to very high frequency. That's HF, UHF, and VHF. And what I bought, and you can find links in the video description, is an L-band antenna, which is what you're looking at here. And this antenna is what we are going to be using to pick up these satellites. It's pretty cool. Ben Brodbick wants to know, is this live? It sure as heck is live. What's funny is that when I do my live streams, it is the same as the recording. I just hit a different button. So what we're going to be doing in a little bit is connecting to, or actually just listening to, data traffic from satellites in space. And I'm working on a new video. This is partly for that, because this L-band antenna, which is what we're using today to pick up these signals, has to be mounted outside. A lot of the other stuff that I'm going to be doing in this video works inside, but I had to get a nice sunny day. So this was shot just a little while ago. And this is the antenna that's out there. And this goes, so you see that little wire coming out of it? That antenna goes into the laptop upstairs where I've got the RTL SDR turned on. And it's plugged into my Lenovo gaming laptop. And so what we're going to do in this video, I'm going to set up a couple of more things here, is we are going to get this show on the road here. And I'm going to be recording B-roll footage because I can't record this. Usually I like to do everything all at once when I make my videos, but in this instance I cannot because this requires things to be mounted outside, and I've got to it's just a whole big process here. So what we're going to do is kind of step through the process, and what's kind of neat is you'll see these signals coming from the satellite as we scroll the radio frequencies on the thing. It's going to be really fun to watch that. So I've got this set up now. I'm just going to make sure this is working so I can demo that. Perfect. Because we have to enable a feature. I've learned a lot about this software-defined radio. So let me get some questions going here so I can help answer what all this is about. And I'm going to say hello to my friends. We have Patrick Chang is here. Andy G is here from Mexico. Hello there. MSX Droid is here. It's evening where he is. Nick Forsopa is here. Ben is here. And yes, as I mentioned, it is live. So, yep, welcome aboard. Tech Time with Eric is here. He's going to clean his living room. Well, you could put me on in the background. That would work. Put me on the TV, you know. And Curtis Maximus is interested to see what we can do with this. Yeah, check out my original video, which you can actually find if you click on the Amazon link, and it'll take you over to Amazon. There's a video on the product page. And and Randall Constant is joining us on Amazon. And what I am going to do is an updated video because I've gotten very far in this hobby, so I'm now decoding a lot of digital traffic that my SDR can pick up. So there's all sorts of stuff, just data floating around in the air. So much cool stuff. If you're into this, because what's really interesting is that certainly you can't get the bandwidth you get on the internet with a fiber optic connection, but it is entirely doable to send short message traffic without any internet at all. No intermediary, There's no, no one owns the airwaves, it's public airwaves. You do have to get a ham license to transmit here in the US, and I'm sure many other countries, but that's not terribly difficult. I'm actually studying for my technician license right now. And you can bounce signals off the ionosphere and send short messages all over the world with nothing in between, just air. It's amazing. And so you can actually pick this stuff up, and we'll cover that in the video. It's really neat. And Andrew has this as well. Andy G wants to know HD channels. I think you can decode FM HD radio, I'm pretty sure. And SDR stands for Software Defined Radio. And Randall is joining us on Amazon from New Orleans, Louisiana. Awesome. Old Farm Show is here. Andrew says, only got luck getting analog TV into it. Yeah, so there's all sorts of cool things you can do. So here in the US, we have no analog television left anymore. But there's been, if you go to the RTL SDR blog, there's people picking up signals, television signals that are bouncing just inadvertently off of the Russian Meridian satellites that just repeat whatever they receive. So they've been able to pick up analog TV broadcasts. There's also something called slow scan TV, and every once in a while they have an event where you can pick up images being transmitted down from the International Space Station. So you have to time it for when the station's overhead and get on the right frequency, but you can pick up slow scan television images that they transmit down. You can pick up weather satellites and the images coming off of those. It's pretty cool. So I'm enjoying this so far. David is here from Akron, Ohio. Very interested in this. Joe Tyson is here. Welcome. Paul is here from the UK. And Tech Time with Eric is also going for this ham license. Yeah, I'm going for it. So I am about. A viewer wrote in with a really good suggestion for a ham study thing. It's hamtestonline.com. It's like $25 for a 6-month thing. And I'm kind of racing against time because they're about to switch the ham test here in the US over to some new questions. So I want to get it done like in May. So I'm going to really try to spend this coming week, I'm really going to buckle down because I'm taking a couple days off. So I'm going to really focus on that. So Curtis is saying, so I cannot send messages, and I'll explain this more in the video that we're going to do, because I don't have a ham license, and this thing is receive only. So this is really just a radio. So it can receive, but it cannot transmit. But if you have a ham license, what you can do is send signals with a radio. You have to get additional equipment, of course, and an antenna that's properly suited for this purpose. But you can send very short messages out on something called FT8, which is like the thing all the hams are into these days. And what it does is it sends, you really can't send much, but you send your location on a map grid. So it's not, down to the GPS coordinates, but it's a square. So you send your map grid, your call sign, and then your signal strength that you're receiving. So you can see actually with this radio, you can actually pick up people communicating. And this is not through satellites, this is just straight up broadcast. And this FT8 is so sensitive as far as the software and how it's engineered from a transmission standpoint that you can pick up signals just out of the noise. It's amazing. I've been just playing around with it at night. I picked up people from Eastern Europe here in Connecticut with a really lousy setup. So it's pretty cool. Sean Wilson is here. Hello there. Mr. Garter is here. What's my opinion on it? I haven't played around with ATSC 3.0. I need to. My guess is until they start broadcasting 4K, it's not going to be all that interesting. So we'll have to see what goes on. Samuel is here. Hello. You do not need Morse code for ham licenses anymore, but they made the test a lot more difficult. So there's a lot, you have to know a lot about, you learn a lot through the studying process about electronics, all the little nuances of that. A lot of technical questions, so it does take a bit to do that. And Joe's got his ticket. This is his call sign. So Joe, are you doing any FT8 stuff? Because that seems like what everybody's doing these days. Sean Wilson, thank you for the kind words there. I appreciate that. Martin is here. Hello there. Andrew's wondering what kind of antenna do I use. So for this project, and I'll put the video back up again, this is an RTL SDR L-band antenna. This antenna is just almost used primarily for what we're about to play around with here, which is to pick up the Inmarsat traffic. So this antenna doesn't do anything else but that. Right now, upstairs, I'm still using the dipole antenna that came with the kit. That's doing a lot of, actually picking up a lot off of that. And then this is funny, for the high frequency traffic, which runs at lower frequencies, so even though it's called high frequency, it's actually lower than VHF and UHF. Believe it or not, I'm using like a TV antenna, and I'm picking up all the FT8 traffic and a bunch of shortwave from that. And so far, everything's inside. I do have a couple of HF antennas coming in. I've got one that's like a little powered magnet antenna. So we're going to play around with that. And then I also just ordered a kind of a little retractable shortwave wire kit. So we'll play around with that as well. And the other thing I'm going to experiment with later is doing a much larger, like 20-meter wire antenna out in the backyard. So that, as you can see, like you start going down this rabbit hole with this hobby, and it gets to be pretty crazy. Is this legal? Yes, it is all legal. You got to be careful with phone calls and pages and that sort of thing. This satellite thing does transmit voice. I don't have the capacity software-wise to decode that voice yet. But in the U.S., it is it's not legal to rebroadcast a private conversation, nor is it legal to use information that you glean from a transmission that's private. But meanwhile, all this stuff is in the clear. So one of the things you can do with one of these SDR kits is you can pick up, you can actually pick up pager traffic. And hospitals primarily are the places where they're still using pagers. And surprisingly, they're not encrypting any of the transmissions on this stuff. It's crazy. You think they would, but yeah, it's pretty cool. And Stanko says we have people from Eastern Europe in here. Yeah, and it's funny, I'm picking people up over the internet, but also over the air, which is pretty cool. I think I got somebody from Hungary the other night. I picked up their signal. But yeah, good stuff. All right, so let's get this going here. So I'm going to start recording because I want to record some B-roll for this upcoming video that I'm doing. So I'm going to just put this away. So now the first thing I have to do here is, for this antenna, is we have to enable something called a bias T, which basically transmits a little bit of power back into that antenna to amplify the signal. So this is the command that I've been running. The D here, I'm going to actually record. The D here refers to the D here kind of refers to the receiver number on the USB bus for this computer. There's a batch file that this has, and it defaults this to 0, but I found on all of my computers I have to make it 1. So I just type in this command manually. -B means to turn on the bias T, and -B0 turns it off. So we're going to hit Enter, and that is going to enable it. You don't get a confirmation, it just does an error out on you. So that's how you know it worked. All right, so I'm going to just note this recording, and then we're going to switch over to, so this is going to be 200 bias T. All right, so that B-roll is done. So now we're going to jump over to our full screen view here, and I am going to load up the RTL SDR software. Now, I have not run this yet, or the SDR Sharp software, excuse me. I have not run this yet on the computer that we're attached to upstairs. So this may or may not work when we get everything going. We'll have to see what happens. Okay, so we have the RTL SDR enabled there. So I'm just going to hit play here. Oh yeah, we're already picking it up. Perfect. So this is it. This is the satellite right here. That didn't, very anticlimactic, but let me zoom this out a little bit. I'm already fully zoomed out. So what you see here are transponders. I'll give you a look at this here. So these are all transponders on the satellite, and they are broadcasting at various bandwidths. so it's you have to attach your software to it to decode everything. And so what I can do here is zoom in, and then we can browse through this way a little bit. So this is one of the high data rate transmitters, and these thinner ones are the lower data rate. And this will make sense in a minute when we put everything together here. But this is pretty nerdy stuff right here. So what you're seeing, and this is what's so cool about this particular project, is that the antenna doesn't really have to be pointed any other than just at the sky. So I didn't have to like aim it or anything. You just stick it at the sky like that. I'll pull it up again here. So that's the antenna. I've got the wire running into the house, like just through the door there. I did like close the door a little bit so the bugs don't get in. But that's pretty much how it's set up. And this satellite is in geosynchronous orbit, so it just continually broadcasts this stuff. Now this is not audio. This is just data that's getting pushed down. So the next step here is we have to load up some software that can listen to it. Now before we do that, I'm going to hit stop because I want to show you a setting that you have to enable here. So I'm just going to give you a different view of this. So in the corner here, you're going to see something for output. And there is a piece of software, it's freeware, it's called VB Cable. And what this does is it pipes, this is so like old school, it's crazy. It's going to pipe the audio so it's receiving audio through that USB receiver. And normally that audio would get pushed out to a speaker. But instead of putting it onto a speaker, what we're doing is routing it into this virtual microphone. And then we can point other software, in this case a piece of software called Gero, that's going to decode what it hears, and it works a lot like a modem does. It's demodulating the signal, and then decoding the data that's coming through on there. So that's what we've got going on there. So I'm going to hit play again here. And now what we're going to do is zoom in on one of these satellite transmissions and see what we can decode from it. And you can see how strong these are. I mean, this antenna works exceptionally well. That's why I bought it, because they had a lot of favorable reviews. And what I'm going to do actually is zero in on this thicker one here. So I'm just going to get it kind of positioned like so, because I think this might be one of the 1200 bit per second streams. So now you can see I can adjust the bandwidth here. So the bandwidth, and this is what they mean by bandwidth, right? The bandwidth here, it's using more of the spectrum to broadcast versus these. So I think this one is at like 1200 bits per second, or 600, and this one is 1200. So you can see it's almost double the thickness because it is transmitting at a higher data rate. But you need more bandwidth to transmit more data, right? So that's how that works. And Jason's wondering, have I tried anything on Android yet? I haven't. I have done, though, something with the Raspberry Pi. And I actually bought a second one of these things because I found something really interesting from a journalistic perspective that I'm working on a story locally. And I stumbled across something that I am monitoring 24/7 now. And so I have my Raspberry Pi upstairs with a command line application just capturing data for something. I'll talk more about it when I'm done with the project, but it's good stuff. All right, so now we have to load up another piece of software. So what's happening now is the audio that the radio is picking up is getting routed into this virtual microphone. And what I'm going to do here is go over to a piece of software that's freeware. It's called Gero. And this software is designed to pick up broadcasts from aircraft. So what I'm going to do here, I'm pretty sure we are on a 1200 bits per second broadcast here. So I'm just going to select that. And you'll see it kind of figuring things out. So you saw those little lights light up there? And we're going to get some error messages here to begin with. But in a minute or two, we're going to be getting data. So how you know that this is working is that you have these four things like this. That's how you know. And so what's happening now is we are receiving data from this satellite, and we probably haven't received any messages yet. I found the lower bandwidth channels get a little less traffic than the higher bandwidth ones do. So we're just going to let it sit here for a second and see what it picks up. Now, the other thing that it does, let's see if I can find it here. Plane log, yeah. So we've already picked up a couple of aircraft that it is communicating with. So you can see this kind of populate here as it goes. Let me hit the record button here to get some video going here. So these are aircraft that this satellite is communicating with, and you'll see this populate as things go here. And one of the things you can do as this is running is click on the aircraft and then see what the plane is. So now we received our first ACARS message. A lot of this stuff is going to be just gibberish because it's data that's getting downloaded into the flight computer. But sometimes you'll see messages from the flight crew that are a little more substantial. So a lot of this stuff is just, I mean, it's all decoding perfectly here. But we don't get the full picture of what they're exactly talking about. Because a lot of this is just data being transmitted into computers. But here, okay, so now this is interesting. So one of the things that flight computers do is they snitch on their pilots. So what you're seeing here, let me get this adjusted here. So anytime the flight computer detects a pilot not conforming with their policies, so for example here, the max tailwind for this flight was exceeded. And so that gets logged. So, you know, if the pilot was doing something wrong or they're noticing that the pilot is not performing at the level they expect per their company policy, it kind of builds up a log of this. So basically the plane rats out the pilot. And a lot of modern avionics do this now. And this is important because if it's noticing bad habits, the plane's going to discover that. So that's something interesting there. Here's another message saying that the runway they're approaching will be wet, just to give them some additional data there. Then you've got all this other stuff that's going on here. It's pretty cool. And this will just stream in as you go. So it's cool, right? And you know, if you're into this sort of thing, I just think it's kind of neat that there's all this data out there and you can just tune into it and pull it up. So I think what I'm going to do here is I want to get some additional B-roll. But you can see this channel isn't all that busy, right? I mean, we're getting some traffic, but not a lot. And let me see what else we got here. So, Kevin, good news. The RTL SDR is back in stock on Amazon. So if you want to get another one, now you can. And he's having a hard time. So the other thing with this, too, is I found a bunch of YouTube channels that are really helpful. One channel that I recommend that's been really helpful for me was the Frugal Radio channel. And the dipole antenna, what you want to do is not have it out horizontally, but have it go vertically. And that made all the difference for me. And I have it up on a second floor inside, believe it or not. And it's actually working pretty well. So I think the way in which you have the antenna placed makes a big difference. Now, the other thing, too, is that there's a lot of ham bands. So some ham bands are on high frequency and others are on VHF. And the HF with the included antenna is a lot harder to pick up because that antenna is really suitable for VHF and UHF. So what I would do is get that antenna vertical, and I would focus on things in like the over 100 megahertz territory. That's where I've had the most luck with that dipole antenna. I ordered a couple of other antennas that I'm going to talk about on the channel soon that might be better. But it's definitely worth playing around a little bit more with it because a lot of the high frequency ham bands are in a different, they need a different type of antenna. And like I said, one of the things I found some success with, especially for shortwave transmissions, is I actually just took out an HD television antenna and I connected to that, non-amplified. And that allowed me to pick up a lot on the HF. And I'm going to be experimenting a lot more with HF. There's a lot of interesting stuff on those lower frequencies. But this is back in stock now, so you can pick up a lot with it. All right, so I'm going to reorient the screen here a little bit because I want to show, like as you tune to a different network, what happens. Here's something interesting. This tail is not authorized by GTFS. It's asking them to call somebody. That's kind of neat. But yeah, a lot of this, you know, like every once in a while, there's an interesting message that comes through. I found one the other night. It must have been like one of the high roller, like high mileage passengers, and they needed to get their hotel changed. And so the flight crew was working to get this hotel change made through the satellite communication system, which was pretty cool. So yeah, you pick up a lot of neat stuff on here. All right, so why don't we look at a different frequency? So what we've been doing so far is just kind of focusing on the 1200 bits per second stuff. But as we scroll through here, we're going to find a weaker signal. So there it is right here. This one, I believe, is a much faster signal, a much faster bandwidth. So what we're going to do now is extend that out like here. And one thing that this gyro software doesn't do is change the bitrate automatically. But as you'll see here, we're going to start picking up a signal. This one's a lot harder sometimes to tune into. But once you get on one of these, you will get a lot more data. It'll just start flowing in like crazy. But it's a little bit harder to get it right. And sometimes these just don't tune for whatever reason. So as you can see here, it's kind of struggling with the signal. So we're getting, it's lighting up briefly and then going out. So we're going to keep messing around with that. Let's just see if we're getting anything through it. And sometimes you can manually adjust it here a little bit too and see if that gets you in better shape, but that doesn't seem to be working. So, and sometimes it's not actually broadcasting the type of data that the gyro software is looking for. So we'll keep browsing here and see if we can find another one of those. And I think this is going to be another, yeah, so here's the other one. And this one might be what we're looking for. Let's see. Let's try one of these. Yeah, there we go. This one's coming in nice and clear. So you see it's a little bit weaker. But we're going to see a ton of data start flowing through here now. Look at that. Because this is a much higher data rate channel. So there's just so much more that comes in on this. And the signal's not as strong, as you can see. But you'll also see here too, when we pop up the plane log, that we've got just so much more, like this is going to be flying in now, pardon the pun. But you'll see new aircraft getting added constantly to this. And there they come. Pretty cool. But you see how easy this is? I mean, I literally just point the antenna at the sky, and you've got data flowing in. And you can see all these different aircraft that we're picking up. And then what we can do is move to another channel. And some channels, like I said, are more active than others. And this software is only going to pick up some, so like those two big humps right there, I don't think those are useful data, but let's see what we get here. Oh, it is data. Yep, it's coming through. Yep. Actually, this one's really coming in clear. And this signal is a little more powerful than the other one. So you saw down here that we didn't have that nice square of data that we had before. Jason Butler, thank you for the new membership on the channel. Much appreciated. And let me go through some comments here and see what we get from folks. Yeah, I'm really pleased with what I'm getting out of this thing. I was surprised that it works as well as it does. Mark Smith used to use a 20-meter antenna for shortwave. I think 20 meters is like the sweet spot, right? And I did buy, actually, I just bought a balun for my wire antenna. So I did get one of those. That was also something I saw on the Frugal radio channel. And here is the technical information. The 4 squares displaying tiny yellow dots at the bottom are actually called quadrophase shift key logging for the constellation diagram. So, and that's what you want. Even if you don't, like me, don't know what it is, that's what you want. So I think what I'm going to do is restart the my B-roll here just to kind of demonstrate the different channels that you might tune into. And this is what's so cool about this, is that you can really decode anything if there's software that's designed to do that. And there's so much out there. I've been decoding packet radio, pager traffic. What else did I get? FT8. There's another one called, I think, JS68, where, so FT8 is just very minimal data. Like you can't send a message beyond your call sign and your map grid location. This other standard now allows you to actually send short messages, like shorter than text messages, but you can send, actually, maybe you can do 140 characters. You can send basically tweets into the air, and it works over very low power, provided you have the right antenna, and you can transmit these little signals all over the world. It's really, really pretty cool. Can't find Elon Musk's plane, no, but there's somebody out there who's doing that. And actually, this software-defined radio thing, there was somebody that did figure out how to tune into the SpaceX launches, which I thought was pretty cool. Sean says the B-Link is pretty cool. Yeah, this is a neat little powerful PC. What I'm doing actually is not using it to its full potential at the moment. So what I've got, this antenna has to be mounted outside, and I'm not ready to drill holes in my house. So I've got a laptop upstairs that is broadcasting NDI video down here onto this machine. So it's being used mostly as a terminal at the moment. But yeah, this is a pretty powerful machine. And actually, this would work really well for software-defined radio because it's an 8-core AMD-based machine, and it's pretty darn powerful. I had a pretty good experience reviewing it. And Mark Smith was using a 1934 tube radio. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's amazing when you look at what you can do in software now, right? I mean, it's just so remarkable how powerful our computers have become that we can do this kind of stuff. So let me do this. I didn't really capture the B-roll I wanted to capture, so I'm going to start kind of from the top here. So I want to show this coming into plane, like how you can just come across it here. So let's do. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to need when I actually do the full video. So let me do this to start. So we're going to go back. So I want to just kind of show those satellite transmissions and how strong they appear. There's some other stuff down here too that it's getting. I don't know what all this stuff is, but it is coming in from space because that's where the antenna is pointed at right now. So, but I have no idea what half of this stuff is. All right, so let us. Actually, this would not be a good Plex server, and the reason is that AMD chips do not do hardware transcoding. So if you are looking for hardware transcoding, not so good. If you're just doing basic media serving, it's fine for that, but not good for that. I am not using Starlink at the moment. I have a good terrestrial connection, but my brother has been very happy with it. And actually, I talked to somebody in town last night who switched to it. He's using it full on, like he's disconnected from the phone company, from the cable company, and just using Starlink. He's very happy with it. He says he's getting a little bit of downtime here and there, but not bad. So everyone I know that's been using it has been very happy with it. So I still have it, the dish, but I disconnected the service for now, just because it's a lot of money for something I don't need at the moment. All right, so let's do the B-roll here of the satellite coming into play. And look at those strong signals coming in. And then what we'll do here is just kind of zoom in on one of those areas. Perfect. Okay, so that's going to be our B-roll. Okay, and then I think we'll start on that same one we were looking at before. Yes, I found like the one that works the best is that one with the 2 humps. Let's go over there. Yeah, these ones right here. Those are the two that seem to work the best for me. But maybe we'll try, so this one I think is 600. That's probably a 1200 bit per second one. So let's do that one real quick. And I'll kind of move this off. And we'll just resize the window here. And I'm going to clear, I think I can clear out everything here. Yeah, okay. And I'm just going to set this to 1200 bits per second. Actually, maybe I'll start at the 600 and then kind of work our way up. Let's do that. All right. So I'll hit record here, and we'll tune into this one. I need to center that a little bit better. There we go. Let's see if it picks up anything on that. That should be a 600 bits per second signal. Maybe it's 1200. Let's try that. And sometimes they're just not, not signals that you can pick up. So let's move this over to, so I'm going to actually move it from 600 to 1200. Kind of stick it over here. See, now it's making me look bad. So I think we're going to do something different here. Let's go over to let's just do it this way. So make that bigger. Just going to move things over a little bit so it's not distracting. But you can see how much fun you can have with this if you're into like picking up data, because I am all about the data. All right, so I'm going to hit the record button. We're going to go to 10,500 bits per second. We're going to move our thing over here. We're going to make this fill up that space a little bit, just fine tune it. And we should start seeing some data flowing in. There we go. All right, we're getting data. And we'll go over to the ACARs here. And look at that, we're getting stuff filling in already. We'll pull up our plane log. This one doesn't seem to be as busy. Let's clear that one, and we'll go to the other frequency, the other channel. And I'll just move it over like that. Wait for it to come in here, so we got that thing happening, and we're getting some data. Yeah, suddenly it's pretty quiet there. We're getting signals and data, but nothing, nothing crazy. And this is the one that it struggles with, because this one's kind of weak. And I bet you if I went outside and adjusted the antenna, I could probably squeak it out. There it goes. It found it. But you can see it's not as strong, right? So we're getting, we're not getting those quadrants, the constellation as firm as we saw it on the other channel. But it's pretty neat. I think it's pretty darn cool. And we can go to this channel, see what we can pick up over there. Again, look for those 3 lights down there to light up. And the messages just come streaming in. And what it does is it keeps a little database of all the different planes that it sees. And so these, if the same plane sends multiple messages, it'll put it into its thing here. Pretty cool. That's largely what I wanted to do today. So there you go. And I want to thank Chanfley98 for a super chat. Looking to change to a wireless mouse and keyboard for my gaming PC. Any recommendations? Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm guessing you want like separate devices. Believe it or not, I've liked the Logitech stuff. They've got a good range of gear. I've looked at a couple of their mouses. They have one mouse that can do wired and wireless. I think Razer and a few others have something like that too. So I like those. I have played around with the SteelSeries stuff too. Those work pretty nicely. I haven't reviewed some gaming stuff in a while. I don't get a ton of traffic on it. But the Logitech G stuff, I've liked their stuff a lot, especially from a ease of use from the software side. So that's been pretty neat. Yeah, I've got a neighbor around the corner who uses it all the time. Actually, 2 people now that I know are using it full time. So my neighbor around the corner he got the same Comcast connection that I had, but he kept his Starlink service longer as a backup. But the fiber optic, believe it or not, has been, I think I've had maybe 10 or 15 minutes of downtime in the year and a half that I've had it. Haven't had any problems with it. So I canceled my Starlink just because I didn't need it. But the other guy around the corner is farther out in the boonies, and he was getting sick of the cable company, and he just dumped everything and is full on Starlink like my brother is. So it's works pretty well. E.C. Myers. I would like to search for extraterrestrial intelligence, but I don't think they want to talk to me. And if they did, nobody would believe it, right? So it's good stuff. All right, so look at that message. That was a big one. Look at that. And again, this is all data that's getting like dumped into flight computers, but you will see like messages to the crew occasionally. So it's a mix of like automation and other stuff there. But it just keeps coming. It's like, it's amazing how much, and the data rate on this is 10,500 bits per second. So it is essentially it's under 1,200 baud, right? So, oh no, it's more than that. So 56K was 56,000 bits per second, which was the modems that I used back in the day. So I had it's faster than, it's just over 9,600 baud essentially. So it's 10,500 baud is what the data rate is coming off that satellite. So it's pretty neat. Joe wants to know if I tried to plot these planes on Google Maps. I haven't, but what you can do, so check this out. So you don't necessarily get their position, but for example, let's pull up a good one here. Let's see what we can find. So, oh, this is neat. This is a plane. This is a Boeing 777 from Air New Zealand. Okay, we have its registration number here, and if I click on this, what it's going to do is pull up Flight Radar 24, and so this is the aircraft that we just received data for, and it currently, it hasn't left yet. It's in LAX right now. Or maybe it's in flight. Let's see. It might be so it's en route to LAX right now. And so let's click on the flight number. Let's see if we can get a live feed for where it is right now. Oh, here it is, live. There we go. So it looks like it just, is it? Oh yeah, it's like not even taking off yet. Yeah, so right now it's on the ground in New Zealand. So that's kind of neat. Let's see if we can find another one here. So let's do a little more elegant of a lookup here. So, all right, this one is, here's a Gulfstream. So here's like a private jet. So let's click on this one, see what we get. So this is a Gulfstream, but it looks like they are hiding their data, so we can't track that one. Let's see, here's a bunch of Airbuses. So there's Emirates. This is an Airbus A380. And it looks like it landed. So this one's on the ground still. Oops. Let's see if we can find one that's actually going somewhere. All right, so here's one that's got a bunch of messages. This is a Singapore Airlines A350. Here you go. Actually, let me record this B-roll. So I'm going to start this again from the top. So let's do hit record. Click on the plane. And we can go over to live. And we can see right now it is still, it's on the ground in Seattle. Or it just took off from Seattle. It looks like it just took off. Or it's taxiing, one or the other. Yeah, I'm not finding a good example yet of something that's actually like in the air. All right, so let's see. This one just got a message. So this is an Air Canada WestJet. It looks like there's some snow going on. but it is not currently in the air. So it looks like these planes are downloading like everything they need to get started on a flight. Let's try this one. This is an Air Caribus flight. Yeah, it hasn't departed yet. But yeah, you don't get a lot of positional data on these. Let's see what this one's doing. It's American Airlines jet. Yeah, also not flying. How about this one? Here's a Japan Airlines. Also on the ground. We're not getting much here. Let's go back down to the beginning here, or to the end. All right, here's a Delta Airlines flight. This one just landed about 20 minutes ago. So it went from Paris to Atlanta, and it's going to leave again to go to Rome in a little while. There's one that just came in. Let's see what this one's looking like. All right, this one's got some live data. Ah, here you go. So this one is still on the ground. It looks like it is, I'm not sure if that's its flight plan. Right now it is currently at 0 feet and it's on the ground. So, interesting. Yeah, good luck with that. You need a very big antenna for that one. And Carl says we watch on Army. Oh, good. So I do have an alien watching me. Perfect. Well, thank you. Beam me up. Get me off of this rock. All right, let's see if we can find. I want to find something that's actually in the air, so I have some good B-roll here to use as an example. But let's see. So this one. Nassau to Teterboro. So this is a private. This is a Bombardier Challenger 350, but it also has not taken off yet. So I'm guessing maybe this channel is like communicating. Let's try this on. Let's do this one here. See if we get anything different. All right, so we got a different channel. Let's see if these have some planes that are actually in the air. All right, this one is the United Airlines 787. And this one is not in the air. Here's another 787. This is a Turkish Airlines flight. And this one's estimated to leave in a little while, but not right now. They must be getting a lot of data just to get prepared for their flights. All right, here's a 777 for British Airways. All right, this one's got some live data, so let's see if this one might be a good one to capture some B-roll for. Nope, this one's still on the ground. This is one we saw before. So this one's going from London to Phoenix. Oh, actually, you know what? It's still, that's what it is. It's still, this one is actually in the air. I think. So if I go to live, yes, it looks like it's en route. Maybe I'm using this wrong, huh? So that's what it is. So it's giving you the full replay. So I think I use a different one. Let me just record this real quick. So we're going to go. So here we've got this flight. We're going to click on that. And if we go to live and just play it out, we can go to see exactly where that plane is right now. And so right now it is over northern Canada. Pretty cool. All right. So I don't think we would pick up military planes because they would be using their own communications. Because right now, so what's crazy about this is that all this stuff is not encrypted. This is not encrypted data. It is just being transmitted in the clear. So some guy like me with a $30 USB dongle is able to read all of these messages in the clear. They just come right in. And that's one of the things that you'll discover when you're playing around with digital on software-defined radio, is that a bulk of what you're going to pick up is totally unencrypted. So from a military standpoint, I don't think you'll find really any unencrypted or you won't find any military data that's unencrypted unless it's the Russians using their shortwave radios or whatever. But it's pretty cool. And David's got some friends coming in on a 737. So we'll keep an eye on it, see if their pilot has done anything incorrect on the computer rats them out. And Joel did say it looks like some of these were NOTAMs about weather alerts that were coming through. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. And this is just one of the digital modes. So what you'll see me do in the video is I've picked up pagers, all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot more to do with this. I just have to switch to the other computer to do all that. But I got to capture that footage a little later today. This one says resume normal speed. So this one is, let's see if this one has something we can look at. Okay, this is one we just picked up. This is an Aerologic from Germany. Nope, this one's on the ground too. Oh, maybe not. No, this one's actually en route. Yeah, so a lot of this data will come in from like air traffic, and this is a DHL plane. You'll get a lot of data from air traffic control when they're out of range of their normal communications, because they, if they see a plane coming overseas, they know where it's going, and they may need to adjust its speed on the way through. But yeah, all good stuff. So Ed says, yes, so that is true. So you will see on flight radar, you will get ADS-B transmissions. So let's go to the home page here and just take a look at that. So this is live data. And you will see, because you can see this big area that no one's flying over Ukraine right now because of all of the concerns that we've had from prior experiences. So you see they're going to go over the Black Sea, but they're staying very far to the south. But you will occasionally see like a NATO plane in this area. Yeah, that's a commercial flight. And there's a plane here going into Moldova, also commercial. But yeah, you will see like some of the NATO planes. And they put the ADS-B on because they want to be seen so that everyone knows what their intent is. But this is all live from flight radar, so you can see all that. And then if I go to the most tracked flights on the dashboard, let's try that. Let's see. So 7,408 people keeping an eye on this one. So this is a U.S. military transport plane. And where is that one going? So how do we see it on the map? It's pretty amazing what you can get on the internet now, right? I mean, if I click, it's airborne. So how do I see it? Oops. But they want everybody to know where they're going. That's why they're using, broadcasting their ADS-B there. But cool stuff. Yeah, this is I've had more fun now. If you're a nerd like me, this is the most fun you'll have with $30 because once you figure out all the nuances, like there's so much stuff that you can tune into. And as I mentioned in my initial review of it, it's kind of like the gateway drug to more, right? So you start playing around with this, and you're like, ooh, I want to learn how to do whatever. You know, I want to pick up, I want to communicate. So to transmit, you've got to get your ham license. So there's a lot more that comes into play there. But this is a neat thing because, you know, there's a whole bunch of things that are just coming in from space here that we're picking up, which I think is just so neat. But this antenna only does that. So you need different antennas to do different things. So a little later, I'm going to record some B-roll of the other things that I've been playing around with, because I'm going to do a video kind of covering all the different modes. And then the other thing I've picked up is, so there's also within the ham community, there are digital transmissions of voice. So they're narrower bandwidth, but you can have two conversations going over a very small sliver of bandwidth. And it's something called, I think they call it, what's that mode called? It is called DMR. So I got some software to decode DMR. GPRS is packet radio, so I've been able to pick up packet transmissions in the area. FT8 is probably the most popular thing for data modes right now in ham. So that's where, those are those low transmission things that we'll talk about. POC-SAG is another one. Those are the pager transmissions. Old-fashioned beepers, they're still in use, pick those up. And this is the L-band that we've been playing around with here. So pretty neat stuff. All right, well, I am going to get moving here. But hopefully you found this interesting. And if you click the link, you can find the RTL SDR on Amazon, which is now back in stock. I cleaned them out last time. So, but now they've got hopefully enough to satisfy all of you. So it's $40. Everything it ships with is all you need to get started. This is a different antenna, which is also linked in the video description. This is the L-band antenna. But the only thing it really picks up is this stuff. So if you're not interested in picking up satellite transmissions to airplanes, then don't bother. But what you do need to get is an HF antenna to pick up some of the other stuff. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with this. All right. And David, yeah, I find it really, you know, because it's a whole new technology that is very old. I mean, it's very well established, and I never really messed around with it. But it's this whole other world of tech out there, disconnected from the grid. There's no internet. I mean, there's internet components to this, but to a large degree, this is disconnected from the internet. This is all over the air. And one of the things that I'm eager to try, so if you all haven't seen this, let me show you this before we go. If you want to play around with this without having to buy anything, there is a website. And here's what's cool about it. I'm going to do this in the video also. So if we go to is it WebSDR? Yeah, websdr.org. I mentioned this in my other video. But here's what's neat about this, is that if you go into your speaker settings on your computer, you can direct the web browser's output into that virtual cable input that we were using before. So without even having to buy hardware, you can tune in to any one of these web SDRs and then route the audio and decode digital transmissions that way. And so, for example, here, this one at the top of the list is a great one because the frequency range is HF. It's 0 to 29 megahertz. And so this is a frequency range that you normally can't pick up on on the dipole antenna that comes with the RTL SDR. And so what you can do is tune in to the web SDR, point its audio. I'm going to make a note to make sure I cover this in the actual video. You point its audio at the VB cable, and then you can just load that software up and have it decode it. So that's another thing that you can do with this. It's just endless, really, what you can do here. So now these frequencies are much lower. So this maxes out at 30 megahertz or 29 megahertz, and we were just picking up 1.5 gigahertz, 1500 megahertz. So the range is different. But FT8 I can pick up here. So I can show you that real quick. Let's try that real quick. Give me 1 second, because then I can actually show you how this FT8 stuff works. So then I got to go. So I'm going to pull up this software. So the software that you need is something called WSJTX. And version 2.5 is the current one. Let's go and download it real quick. And what you're going to see is this working exactly the same way. Where's the download? Here it is. Documentation, latest availability. Oh, it's got its own page. Hang on a second. There it is. Okay, so we're going to grab the latest version, so the 64-bit version here. And it's available for Linux. I think you can run it on the Raspberry Pi also. So I'm going to download this. Now, we're not going to use the RTL SDR right now, but this works exactly the same way. Because what we're going to do is take the audio coming in off the web SDR and just pointing it at this software. And you're going to see this thing like populate super quick. And one of the things that I want to do when I get my ham license is do one of those low transmission broadcasts and see, because this antenna that we're going to log into over the internet is actually located in the Netherlands. So I could actually see my transmission hit that, right? I think that's kind of neat. And David has a good suggestion here. Just buy the Ham It Up kit, which has the module one needs to go below. Now, why didn't I find that one before? Ham It Up kit. Let's see. I should have looked for that to start with. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff on low frequency, especially some of the other things that, oh, great. So now oh, you know what happened? Hang on a second. I got to go upstairs and hit the, talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. I have to hit a button upstairs. So I forgot I was connected to a different computer. Okay. I think we should have gotten going there. When I get one of those Windows messages, it makes it all out of whack. Okay, so now we're going to go. Uh-oh. Is KVM working here? Oh, it just knocked me out of my other thing. Hang on a second here. I got to go back upstairs. Hang on a second. Sorry, everybody. You know what? Let me try to disconnect and reconnect and see if that fixes it. Give me 1 second. Let's try this real quick here. I may have to go upstairs and re-enable the... Yeah, I must have screwed. There it goes. Okay, we're back. Let's hit KVM on. Yeah, got to go re-enable this. Oh, hey, guess what? Our spammers are here. How about that? I was wondering when they would show up. Let's get them kicked out of here. Okay. All right, so I got to run upstairs for 1 second here. Scott is here, says that I've wanted to get my ham license, but can't find anywhere local to take the test. You know, I may have the same problem as you, because I thought they had some local testing locations. And it's very strange because the ARRL, the National ham radio club, is headquartered here in Connecticut. I was in touch with their CEO, actually. I may try to do something with them, which I think would be kind of fun. All right, let me run up here and just hit this button. So, because for whatever reason, the KVM here stopped working, so I have to re-enable that. Finish that, and I may have to recycle this. And that's static you hear is the web SDR. All right, let me. Yeah, I'm aware of this. Hang on a second. This is going to be a real pain in the you-know-what. All right, so let me reboot this. And we're going to go to enable KVM, and that should fix it. If not, we'll come back to this another time. But let's see what happens. Actually, I probably could do this on the computer downstairs, now that I think about it, but I have to install a bunch of software and yada, yada, yada. Okay, so yeah, there's really no need for me to actually be on that computer upstairs because I could do it all from down here. So maybe we'll try that in a minute. Okay, let's see if this is working now. Oh, there it goes. Okay, good. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to pull up this software here that we just installed. Oh, great. Yeah, it's not working. Okay, so give me a second. We're just going to kill this. And bear with me for 1 second. We're going to do this right here. Because actually what I'm thinking about when I do the video is I can... Let me just do this whole thing real quick here. So we'll download this. So it's not, it is a little hard to get a license in that you have, if you know, and I am in this boat. I don't know a lot about electronics, believe it or not, like how they work. And that's a big part of it. So that is something I'm working on with my studying. I don't think it's very expensive to take the test. And yeah, I'm going for the technician class to start. And you're limited as to what, what you can broadcast on in the technician class. So you can't do a lot in the HF band. But what I'm really interested in is what you're about to see here. And so you can do stuff there. So that's something that is worth talking about. And actually, what I'm going to do here, this is a good opportunity for some additional B-roll recording. So I'm going to go to this virtual audio cable. So there's one of the key components here is this software called virtual audio cable. And so we're going to hit download and just install this VB audio software. And so let's go in there and just do that real quick. And what this does is it basically routes your audio. So we'll say yes to this, install the driver. Then you got to reboot. And what this does, and I got to reboot here real quick. What this does is it routes the audio that comes into its virtual input. It will route it out to another piece of software. So it literally is a virtual audio cable. And what we're going to do right now is we are not going to use SDR pound. We're actually going to connect to that SDR in the Netherlands and route its audio. So this is something I do upstairs with my other antenna. But without it, I don't actually need the SDR at all because I can connect to a web one, route its audio into this decoding software and have it work that way. Yeah, and by the way, there's no minimum age for a ham license. As long as you're able to pass the test, you can be any age. Now, and Adnan wants to know, can you get other... Yes, so there are different antennas that you can use to connect to NOAA weather satellites and pull down their data. It's also possible to... there's actually a fax format that works over the air for marine purposes. So you can actually download faxes as they are transmitted over the air. They get transmitted at certain times of day, which is kind of neat. So yeah, there's so much depth to this that, you know, I've never been aware of until I started playing around with this stuff. That it's just been a lot of fun to learn about. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go to websdr.org. Let me get my thing reconnected here so you can see what this is going to do. So we'll connect to the Spark here. Okay. So what I'm going to do down here is I'm going to take my audio output. So when you click on the little thing here, and instead of going out to my video input, I'm going to route the computer's audio to the cable input. All right, so this is going to run through the virtual audio. And so whatever we pick up on the radio, that sound is going to get routed to the software we're going to load up here, this WSJTX. And I'll show you what we're going to do with this in a second. All right, so right now we need to go and configure this. And let's go into settings. And I think it's under radio. No, it's under... I got to remember where they have this thing set up. Configurations, view. I thought it was in settings. Let's try it again. Because I have to tell it to listen to the output of that audio. This is where it is. Okay. So the input is going to be that virtual cable. Okay. So now what's going to happen is, I got to set an audio device. Hang on a second. The output's not as important, but we have to set one anyhow. So let's go, the output, we're going to set it to the thing here. That's not really necessary. Okay, so now we got it all set up. So what's happening now is any sound that comes out of this computer is going to get routed into the virtual cable, and the software that's listening is going to pick that up. So the next thing we're going to do is load up the virtual SDR, or the web SDR, and we're going to tune this to the frequency that we have set up here, which is 14,078 megahertz. So I'm going to say 14,078 megahertz. All right, so here, I'll give you a look at this. So we're going to hit tab on that. We're going to do USB, and we should be at that frequency. Yep. I think we're in the right spot. Maybe not. Let's make sure that we're there. Okay. I think this is what I want over here, but we'll see in a second. So I'm going to switch over to the software. This is the FT8 decoder. Yeah, I'm not getting anything, so I wonder... if I move it over here, if this might be what we're looking for. So if I got it in the right spot, you'll start to see some of these packets starting to show up, but I don't think I'm in the right spot. Let's go back over to that, 4078. But this is a web-based SDR. So this is doing what the little one does, but we actually are just using, let's see what we get here. Hey, Smoke Monster is here. Awesome. Let me pull up the waterfall here, see if it's picking up anything. Usually this is a very active band, so I'm surprised we're not getting anything. But I might switch to a different band. Because 14 megahertz, 14.078 is what we're at. So let's go down. I think we'll try it on 10140 and see what we get there. And if not, I may have to mess around with this a little bit more. It is picking up something as far as, like you can see the waterfall here is picking up signals there. But I had this working the other night. But this does work upstairs when I have my other antenna hooked up. And what happens is you get these little short messages. That's what we're looking for. And as Chad mentions here, by the way, on your ham license, you do not need to get a Morse code lesson before you jump into that. Yeah, so what we're looking for right now is, this is the FT8 standard, and we're looking to see if we can pick up any of these little short messages that are getting broadcast. And I'm not picking up any here on this web SDR. I did get this to work a little while ago, and I think it might be me. But let me go back to the more common frequency here. It's a 10.14 is typically where I see the most, I think. So let's go to, I'm sorry, to the 20 millimeter, the 1478. So let's go back to that. And it might have too much bandwidth going here. That could also be the problem. So let me zoom in a little bit, or zoom out. But we should start seeing messages popping up in here once it detects something. Oops. Oh, I got to hit decode. There's the problem. Oh, maybe not. Actually, maybe it does that automatically when it goes through. Yeah, so what it does, it runs through a cycle. And whatever it picks up in that cycle, it then dumps out. And we are getting audio. Oh, you know what? I know what's going on here. We got to go to FT8. We're in the wrong mode. This might fix it. And we're on the wrong frequency now because I was on the wrong thing. So let's go to 1474. That might fix it. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. So you can see how active that is. So look at that waterfall, how busy that is. That's what we're picking up here. And I'll play the audio for you in a little bit so you can hear what it sounds like. But now we should start seeing messages popping in. So let's give it a second here. This is, yeah, there you go, look at that. So this is now probably the most popular thing in ham radio right now. And what they do is they send these really brief little messages to each other. And what you get here, let me give you another, oh, I've been recording this whole time. Oh my goodness. What you get here is, let's create a virtual input here. And these are coming in from all over the world that this antenna in the Netherlands can pick up. So let's go over to position and zoom in on that little section here so you can see exactly what we're looking at. And there's a little app, another software package called Grid Map that will show you where these are coming in on all over the world. So when you have a good antenna, like this is like a hopping thing. And what you get is typically you will get a CQ. So this guy is saying, hey, I am this is his identifier. That's his handle. You know, whatever country they're in, the assigned ham license ID. And then this is a grid map location. So this is all the data that gets sent. And then what happens is that somebody will respond back to say, hey, I am this person. So that's what one of these things is here. This is me. I received you. This is the strength that I'm getting you at. And there's another part of the message where they send their own grid map back to them. But you can see there's not a lot of data sent here. That's because this is it's very low powered. And the way this works is that it adjusts I don't even know how it works, but it adjusts how the message is transmitted in such a way that you can reliably send messages essentially in the noise, and they can go very, very far distances. And I see Smoke Monsters on. This is something that Igor was doing, who's our friend who makes the EverDrives. Before the horrible tragedy in Ukraine started, he was playing around with this and sending these short messages all over the place. But there's another mode called JT68. I don't think this software decodes that. Is it JT68? And that works the same way, but it will allow you to actually send text messages. Maybe it is JT65. Let me see here. Nope. Yeah, so there's another one that allows you to send actual text messages in the same manner. It's not as reliable, I don't think, but it's kind of doesn't get as much traffic. But one of the things of people who are into ham radio try to do is see how far they can transmit and how many different stations they can connect with all over the world. So typically people would talk to each other doing that. But this is much more efficient because the way this works is that you set up a bunch of standard messages down here in the corner. And then when you see a CQ, you click on it, you send a message, they receive it. You know, it's a very quick way to get your log built up. And that's kind of what the allure of this is. But you can see just how much traffic is coming over this. Now, this is over in the Netherlands right now, so that's where this antenna is located. But you can set this up on your RTL SDR. It works exactly the same way as we just set it up here, where you route the audio through the virtual audio cable and you're good. So it's pretty neat. Carl on the Amazon chat says, can you do anything on TVs? And this is mostly a radio decoding feature. So we were playing around a little bit earlier with picking up satellite signals. This little product can pick up shortwave radio. It can pick up ham radio transmissions. It can work like a radio scanner for emergency communications in your area. And it works on your computer, and you can decode a whole bunch of stuff. If you click on the product link, you'll see my review of it, so you can kind of get a feel for how that works. But it's cool. Yeah, and this is all it is. It's just these little messages going back and forth. But these are all being sent by people all over the world. And there's actually, let me get, I need to install this anyhow, so let me get this installed real quick, and I'll show you the next thing. I think it's called Grid Mapper. Yeah. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. Let's see, Grid Map. Grid Tracker, that's what it is, I think. Yeah. So let me download this real quick. And this will give you a feel for how this works. And this is more fun when you run it on your own radio, because it's, when you run it off your own SDR, because it's like, oh, cool, I'm actually receiving these signals. So like I said, I got one from Italy, from Hungary, and I'm sitting up in my room upstairs, and I'm picking up these signals on a really lousy setup. I was really impressed with what I was able to pick up. And we'll just wait for this to install here. And this software works with the other software you just looked at, and it's going to put things on a map as things come in once it installs. All right, so now we'll go and load this up. Did I just close the browser? I totally closed the browser. Hang on a second. I got to reload my, my browser. So we got to go back to WebSDR, start the audio, and so it's 14.074. back to make sure we're getting some new signals in. Yep, good. We're good there. So I didn't totally screw that up. And let's go to grid tracker. It's not going to load for us. There it goes. Okay. So now the grid tracker is loading up. So what you're going to see here is this is how you're going to map. I really got to figure out how I'm going to make this video. This is what I've been playing with over the last couple of weeks, just at night. Like, okay, here's a new digital mode I wasn't aware of. How do I decode it, and what can I do with it? All right, so what you're already seeing are things populating in the map. Now remember, the antenna that we are virtually connected to is in the Netherlands. So a bulk of the traffic we're going to see is going to be coming from Europe. But every time another one of these transmissions happens, that grid map location is being transmitted in there, and it's going to put up these little things. And you can also see when somebody's communicating with somebody else. So when you have a CQ that's responded to, you will see that indicated here on the map. And again, this antenna is in the Netherlands, but it's picked up, that antenna in the Netherlands picked up a signal from California. Isn't that cool? And these are all super low powered. So I don't know what the transmitting power is, but it looks like it was like -8 dB. So these things it can just pick stuff up through the noise. It's amazing. And so there you can see that map start to play out. And what's really fun is when you do this on your own radio and you just like let it run for a little while and come back to it, it's like, wow, it picked up all these different things. Now, you're not allowed to communicate with them, nor can the hardware do that. So the SDR hardware does not transmit at all. But like I said, this is kind of the gateway drug for all this stuff. So when you start playing around with it, it's like, ooh, I could do this, because you're going to run the same software to transmit back when you get your license and the hardware to transmit. So the way this will work is it'll transmit through a radio from your computer just by pushing the audio out. And Aaron says that it's generally 5 watts or less. So think about that. So this antenna in the Netherlands that we're connected to virtually is picking up signals that are under 5 watts from the United States. And here's one from Brazil. And when you have your own thing upstairs, like I was surprised. I have I kid you not, a TV antenna that I bought a little adapter for that I hooked up to my RTL SDR, and I was picking up Italy, Hungary, and the worst possible. Like if any hams are watching, you'll just laugh at how awful the setup was. But I was getting stuff, and it's fun. It's like, wow, this is so cool. You can't reply to any of them, but you can look up their handle and send them an email or something, right? So for example, if I go into the log, where is it? It keeps like a little running statistics thing here. So I can click on, go to live here, and then I can click on any of these things here. So I can look up somebody's handle, and it'll tell me who they are. And there's services out there where you can like link up your ham thing there. But look at this, we got Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, somebody from Russia. It's, just people are just constantly transmitting. And this is not automated. These people are actually, the software kind of can be automated, but it has to be operated by a person. So the software is being used by somebody somewhere. And this has become like the biggest thing in ham radio is this FT8. Is very heavily used. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, and it'll work better under certain atmospheric conditions. Obviously, it's bound to the same physics, but the way they transmit and decode allows for the ability to pull this data out of the noise the way they're doing it. It's really remarkable. Now, if you want to hear what it sounds like, let me close all this stuff out here. Now, give you it's kind of an eerie sound. So let me switch back to our regular audio here. And I'm going to turn it down so I don't blow your eardrums out. But this is what it'll sound like. All right, ready? Here, I'm going to turn down a little bit more. Okay. That's what it sounds like. So the software, and these are all just like different, like this is not like some master system. These are all just stations doing this. And they're all in sync with each other so nobody steps on anyone else. Isn't that cool? So that's what it sounds like. And so when, and your software is picking up those frequencies and demodulating it, very much the same way a dial-up modem would do it. It's pretty cool. So yeah, David says, yeah, I'm actually pretty high up here too. So I think if I get a good aerial, I'll be able to pick up a lot of things. And yeah, I know a lot of people actually that smoke monster that use their license plates as their call numbers there. So yeah, so again, the sky's the limit on this. I am in the process of working on a video about all the different things you can decode with one of these things, and that I am going to be working on for next week. So I may do some work on it over the weekend. Got a lot of family in town, so we'll see what we get done. But yeah, it's been a fun month or so just playing around with different digital modes and figuring out all this cool stuff. So yeah, so that's it. Well, I got to run. I got to take the dog out, and my mother-in-law is making dinner tonight, so can't pass up a free meal. So I'm going to take advantage of that, and I will be back. But yeah, I think if you want to play around with things, the web SDR is a great way to get started. But this kit, this $30 kit, like it's a ton of fun if you're interested in radio and seeing what you can pick up. Because I am surprised by how much stuff I'm getting. I'm lucky that I have a repeater for the local ham club nearby. So I get a lot of their transmissions. I'm picking up a lot of packet radio stuff, pagers, all sorts of cool things. So yeah, we're going to be focusing on that. So good stuff. I will catch you all on the flip side. I want to thank, though, we got a new member. And I also want to thank Chanflay98 for your super chat. I'm just going to go through. Yeah, Jason Butler is the new member, and Chanflay was the super chat. So thank you very much, everybody. Hopefully you learned something today. And yeah, I'm loving the SDR stuff. So we're going to do another video on it. So stay tuned. I'll catch you all in the next one. See you soon. Bye-bye.